Meet Jordan, a 24-year-old college student who thought he had a close relationship with his family, especially his older brother Marcus. Marcus was 28, successful in sales, and had been dating his girlfriend Emma for about 2 years. To everyone else, Marcus seemed like the perfect boyfriend, charming, generous, and always talking about how much he loved Emma. Jordan had always looked up to Marcus, but over the past few months, he'd started noticing disturbing changes in his brother's behavior. Marcus had become increasingly controlling with Emma, constantly checking her phone, demanding to know where she was, and isolating her from her friends and family. The red flags became impossible to ignore during family gatherings. Marcus would make cruel jokes about Emma in front of everyone, criticize her appearance, and embarrass her publicly. When family members laughed along or stayed silent, Jordan realized that everyone was enabling Marcus's toxic behavior. But Jordan had no idea how bad things really were until the night that changed everything forever. The warning signs were all there, but what Jordan witnessed next was so violent that it led to criminal charges. Subscribe now because this family loyalty story takes the darkest turn possible. The incident happened during a family barbecue at Jordan's parents' house. Emma had been quiet all evening, and Jordan noticed she had bruises on her arms that she kept trying to hide with long sleeves despite the summer heat. When Jordan asked if she was okay, Emma just smiled weakly and said she was clumsy and had fallen down some stairs. Later that evening, Jordan went inside to get drinks and heard shouting coming from the guest bedroom upstairs. He recognized Marcus's voice, but it was angrier and more violent than Jordan had ever heard before. Jordan climbed the stairs and found the bedroom door slightly open. What Jordan saw through the crack in the door was his brother Marcus grabbing Emma by the throat, slamming her against the wall, and screaming at her for embarrassing him by being too quiet at the family dinner. Emma was crying and begging Marcus to stop, saying she was sorry and promising to be more social. Jordan stood frozen, watching his brother, the person he'd admired his entire life, choking the woman he claimed to love. That's when Jordan made a decision that would destroy his family but save Emma's life. Jordan's next decision was incredibly brave but would cost him everything. You won't believe how his own family reacted to him protecting a domestic violence victim. Jordan pulled out his phone and started recording. He captured clear footage of Marcus hitting Emma across the face, pushing her to the ground, and kicking her while she was down. The video showed Emma pleading for Marcus to stop while Marcus screamed that she was worthless and lucky to have him. When Marcus finally stopped the assault, Jordan quietly backed away and went downstairs, his hands shaking as he looked at the video he'd just recorded. He knew this footage could send his brother to prison, but he also knew it might be the only evidence that could protect Emma from future violence. Jordan waited until Marcus and Emma came back downstairs, with Emma clearly trying to act normal despite her swollen face and torn clothing. Marcus was back to his charming persona, joking with family members as if nothing had happened. That's when Jordan realized the true horror of the situation. This wasn't the first time Marcus had been violent with Emma. The family's casual acceptance of Marcus's controlling behavior meant they were all complicit in enabling his abuse. Jordan faced an impossible choice between family loyalty and protecting an innocent victim. Hit that notification bell because his decision to choose justice over family destroyed everything he thought he knew about his loved one. The next morning, Jordan couldn't stop thinking about what he'd witnessed. He kept imagining Emma going home with Marcus, knowing that the violence would continue and probably escalate. Jordan had read enough about domestic violence to know that abusers often kill their victims when they feel their control slipping. Jordan made the hardest decision of his life. He contacted Emma privately and showed her the video. Emma broke down crying, admitting that Marcus had been physically abusing her for over a year but she'd been too scared and isolated to get help. She begged Jordan not to show the video to anyone, terrified of what Marcus would do if he found out. But Jordan convinced Emma that the video was evidence they needed to protect her and potentially other future victims. Together, they went to the police station and filed a domestic violence report. The video evidence was so clear and disturbing that Marcus was arrested that same day. When Marcus was taken into custody, he immediately called his parents, claiming Jordan had set him up and that the video was somehow taken out of context. Jordan's parents believed Marcus without question and demanded that Jordan come home immediately to explain himself. Jordan's family's reaction to him protecting a domestic violence victim was absolutely heartbreaking. Subscribe if you want to see how families can choose abusers over victims. Jordan's parents were furious when they learned he had provided evidence that led to Marcus's arrest. Instead of being horrified by their son's violence, they were angry at Jordan for betraying the family and ruining Marcus's future. They accused Jordan of being jealous of Marcus's success and claimed he had destroyed the family over a private relationship matter. The worst part was discovering that Jordan's parents had suspected Marcus was abusive but had chosen to look the other way because they didn't want to interfere in his relationship. They admitted they'd seen Emma's bruises before but had accepted Marcus's explanations without question. When Jordan refused to recount his statement or claim the video was fake, his parents gave him an ultimatum: either help them prove Marcus was innocent, or be disowned from the family forever. They claimed that family comes first and that Jordan had violated the most basic rule of family loyalty. Jordan realized his parents weren't just enabling Marcus's abuse, they were actively choosing to protect an abuser over protecting his victim. They cared more about Marcus's reputation and future than about Emma's safety or life. Jordan's decision to choose justice over family loyalty led to consequences he never imagined. Comment below, would you have made the same choice to protect a victim of domestic violence? Jordan chose Emma's safety over his family's approval. He not only refused to recount his statement, but he also provided additional evidence to prosecutors, including recordings of Marcus making threats against Emma and documentation of his controlling behavior. The criminal case against Marcus was overwhelming. The video evidence, combined with Emma's testimony and medical records of her injuries, led to Marcus being charged with domestic violence, assault, and criminal threats. He was sentenced to 2 years in prison and a permanent restraining order against Emma. Jordan's parents followed through on their threat and disowned him completely. They paid for Marcus's legal defense, visited him in prison regularly, and continued to claim that Jordan had destroyed an innocent man over jealousy and lies. They told extended family members that Jordan was mentally unstable and had fabricated evidence against his brother. The family split was permanent and devastating. Jordan lost his parents, most of his extended family, and his childhood home. But he gained something more valuable, the knowledge that he had potentially saved Emma's life and prevented Marcus from abusing other women. The way Jordan's family chose an abuser over a victim is heartbreaking, but his courage saved a life. Hit that like button if you think he made the right choice. Marcus served his full sentence and was released with strict probation conditions. Emma had used the time to rebuild her life, get therapy, and reconnect with the friends and family Marcus had forced her to abandon. She credited Jordan with saving her life and said the video evidence had given her the courage to finally escape the abuse. Jordan finished college and built a new life independent of his toxic family. He became an advocate for domestic violence survivors and often speaks about the importance of believing victims over protecting abusers, even when the abuser is family. The most satisfying outcome was that Marcus's conviction became public record, destroying his career in sales and his reputation in their community. Several women came forward after his arrest, revealing that Marcus had a pattern of abusing girlfriends that went back years. Jordan's parents continued to support Marcus after his release, but their relationship with their community was permanently damaged. People knew they had chosen to protect an abuser over his victim, and many former friends cut contact with them. Sometimes protecting innocent people means losing the people who raised you, but some battles are worth fighting. If this story of choosing justice over family inspired you, make sure you're subscribed for more stories of moral courage. This story teaches us something crucial about family loyalty versus moral responsibility. Jordan's parents believed that blood relation should outweigh evidence, justice, and the safety of innocent people. They chose to enable an abuser because protecting their son's image mattered more than protecting his victim's life. Jordan's courage to prioritize Emma's safety over his family's approval probably saved her life. Domestic violence escalates over time, and Emma was showing classic signs of being in mortal danger. The video evidence not only convicted Marcus but also validated Emma's experiences and gave her the proof she needed to escape. The saddest part isn't that Jordan lost his family, it's that his family was willing to sacrifice an innocent woman's safety to protect their abusive son's reputation. Their reaction proved they cared more about avoiding embarrassment than preventing violence. Jordan learned that real family isn't about protecting each other from consequences, it's about holding each other accountable for doing what's right. Sometimes the people who claim to love us most are the ones most willing to enable our worst behaviors. If this story about choosing victim protection over family loyalty moved you, I need you to smash that like button, subscribe and hit the notification bell for more stories about moral courage in impossible situations, and share this with anyone who needs to know that protecting victims is always the right choice, even when it costs everything. Comment below and tell me, have you ever had to choose between family loyalty and doing what's right? Let's support people who stand up for victims of domestic violence, even when their own families turn against them. Your courage could save someone's life. See you in the next moral courage story. What would you do if you caught your own brother physically abusing his girlfriend and had it all on video? This Reddit story starts with a family gathering that went horribly wrong, but escalates into domestic violence, police arrest, and a family choosing to protect an abuser over protecting a victim. By the end of this story, you'll see how doing the right thing can cost you everything you thought you knew about your family, but also how some battles are worth fighting regardless of the consequences. If you believe in protecting victims of domestic violence, you need to hit that like button because this story will challenge everything you think you know about family loyalty.